begin. My name is Erin Mosier. I'm the Director of Education here at NAEA. And NAEA, the National Association of Enrolled Agents, is the nation's leading community for tax practitioners, from aspiring enrolled agents to experts with decades of experience. We meet you wherever you are in your career. We have a couple different levels of membership: academic associate membership, which is actually free to students; associate membership, which is great for our potential EAs who are looking at studying and passing the EA test, because you get discounts to the Surgeon EA program, as well as our C Passer membership. So if we have any new EAs on the call, you get $100 off your membership if you for the first year after you receive the EA. You also get the line-by-line certificate program for free with that one. And I'm going to let Bill talk a little bit about the Education Foundation, but we have a number of different scholarships for a number of different things within the Education Foundation, and we can talk a little bit more about that later. So on today's panel, we're going to be meeting a number of EA veterans who've been in the EA career for quite some time. They're going to be sharing their knowledge with you and answering any questions you have. So we got two moderators today. Bill Nemeth is our current NAEA Education Foundation Chair. He has over 30 years of experience as a tax professional. He and his wife, Mary Brody, operated their tax franchise operation with 24 offices and 12,000 returns per year. They sold that business in 2012 and embarked on a new endeavor, Tax Audit Guardians, assisting troubled taxpayers. And our second moderator for today is Catherine Bostock-Hootie, EA. She is our outgoing NAEA Education Foundation Chair, and she started CBH Business Services in 1998 after working for a manufacturing company for nearly 2 decades. She's acquired a wide range of experiences in the finance department, starting as a financial analyst and through the years being promoted. When she started CBH Business Services in 1998, her focus was on individual and business income tax returns and bookkeeping for small businesses. So I'm going to let Bill and Catherine take it away. But again, I'll be in the background monitoring your questions and your comments.
Thank you very much, Erin. My name is Bill Nemeth. I'm an enrolled agent, have been one for over 16 years. I want to welcome you all today to this program, Is the EA Career Right for You? And then talking about how to pass the test and so on. The thing we all love about the EA career is you can enter at any point in your work life, all the way from straight out of high school. There are no degree requirements, all the way to many of us, which call it our last career. And the neat thing about it is, if you're looking at becoming an EA, you can actually go to work for almost any tax outfit, the H&R Blocks of the world or the Jackson Hewitts. They'll train you for free. They'll actually pay you to work. And I advocate that as a starting point. You got to see if you like the work. If you like the work, maybe you want to go further. When we had our tax practice, we organically grew internally 20 enrolled agents. We had over 100 employees, and we paid for them to take classes, and we encouraged them along the way. And of those 20, 10 are entrepreneurs today. They're supporting their family with the work of their EA credential. So we think it's a wonderful opportunity. And the other thing, the old joke, if you enjoy what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. That's kind of where I am. My prior background, I was sitting next to Eric Green, who's a very good education guy. At dinner in December, we were presenting to a bunch of people on how to do things with the IRS. And I happened to mention I went to MIT. He turned at me and said, "What the hell are you doing here?" So we have a lot of different varied backgrounds. For the next 30 years, I actually was a technology salesman. And so I love doing audits because it's all about salesmanship. You've got to have a good story about what your client is doing and why he may not keep good records and all of that stuff. It's all about the story. So I quite enjoy that part of it. And as an aside, I did teach the EA test, getting ready for the test for 3 years for GLIME. I taught part 3, and I thought that was very interesting. And a number of the people I taught became EAs, and I'm still in contact with them today. So they've joined the fraternity. And with that, Catherine, please update us on your background.
Well, Bill, it's not as colorful as yours. As Erin stated, I started my career. It's officially within a couple of days. I've been in my own business for 25 years this year, literally within a few days. And I chose, when I got out of the manufacturing environment, to start my own business and do my own thing. And it has grown by leaps and bounds over the years. And just a statistic that I read just recently, and I don't know, Bill, if you've seen this, but over 300,000 tax preparers retired last year. So if you think that there's a need for people like us, or to develop people like us, there is an absolute need for good tax practitioners and people willing to do resolution work. And I think anybody who becomes an EA literally can start writing their own ticket, because there is such a need for our services. I'm turning people away. I just closed, I don't want to say close the office, but I'm literally getting calls every day for people that want my services. And I just had to say, okay, I'm at the point where I can't take any more for this tax season. So it's a really good profession to be in, and I've enjoyed it every day. Any stress that I have is stress of my own making. So, you know, it's a good stress to have. But enough about me. We've got two panelists that I'd really like to first hear from about what went into their decision-making process to become an enrolled agent. How did they get into deciding they wanted to do tax work, and then how did they find out about the enrolled agent, and what was their decision-making process to become an enrolled agent? Nayo, can we start with you?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Nayo Carter-Gray. I am the owner and founder of First Step Accounting, where we make accounting a little less taxing for small business owners all across the U.S. In my firm, we do handle accounting, virtual tax prep, as well as resolution work and some education services. We tend to cater to those smaller business owners, ones that are making under 500K in revenue and below, and typically are in professional services. So this a little bit about the firm. Now, I've been an EA since 2016. And actually, I have been doing taxes for 30 plus years. I started when I was in high school, when I had my very first summer job and discovered I could get my tax money back. And so I charged all my friends I knew that had jobs $25 to do their taxes. And this was back in the day when you had to go to the library to get those tax forms and fill them out by hand and mail them in. So I've been doing this quite a while. The EA license was introduced to me when I had my first internship in college, and my boss was an enrolled agent. He had worked for the IRS for over 20 some odd years. And he's like, just go get the EA license. You don't even need to pursue that CPA designation, because that's not what you want to do. And so he encouraged me to do it. And me being the know-it-all that I thought I was, I actually went and took that test. It was on paper, and I failed miserably because, you know, I thought I knew it all because I had been doing taxes forever, so I didn't study. Well, that crushed my little soul. So I went to go work in private industry for quite a while. And then 2008, when the recession hit, I got laid off from my job, and I had, you know, a handful of tax clients that I was preparing taxes for. And I decided to hang up my own shingle and step out on faith. And so in doing so, you know, I realized very quickly that in order to kind of go further in the services that we were offering, I needed to have some sort of license to represent the clients we were serving. And so that's when I decided, okay, let me pick up the mantle and redo this enrolled agent exam. I set a goal of passing the test within 1 year, and I actually did it in 1 year and 1 day. I studied using Gleim, and I set the goal to take a test at least once a quarter. And I, studied really hard. I would wake up early in the morning, spend about 2 hours studying, get along with my workday, and then take the test. So I've passed each test the first try. Part 2 was my favorite, but I did have to take some supplemental courses in order to, aid in that studying, like basis was very tricky for me. And so I took some CE topics on basis just to kind of drill in and nail those lessons, lock them down. Part 3 was actually the piece where we talk about ethics and all the things we should and shouldn't do, and those fees we can charge. That was the most difficult section for me, because it relied on a bunch of memorization. And I was like, this is a lot, but I got through it because I set that goal. I had accountability buddies who knew what I was doing, and so they would encourage me and send me messages along the way.
Excellent. Any other comments, Nayo, about now that you're an EA, what would you say to someone looking at it? Good thing to do, interesting thing?
Absolutely. I'm always out pushing people to join our fraternity, as you called it, especially our younger generation, because accounting and tax is just a lifelong skill that you can use to really build a career, a meaningful career. Like I had an intern who came and worked for me. He passed, I had him sign up for NAEA as an associate academic member. He passed his test in like 3 months. So now he's going to get his master's degree, has a job at PricewaterhouseCoopers. So, it is one of those skills that having the license, you can't go wrong, right? Especially if you kind of love tax and you're going to be involved and invested in tax, it's like one of the best things you can do for yourself.
Absolutely. I often tell people that the EA exam is a very difficult exam. You should study and pass it, but I emphasize I would not want anybody to be an EA until they have 2 years of real world experience doing taxes, because I have seen a couple folks that pass the test. I still have to do their Schedule C every year. I call them paper EAs. And so I want people to get real world experience. And working in a tax office is marvelous because all of the different things you see that you never thought about, you see them in a tax office. The other interesting thing, we talk about, we're a graying population. Average age of enrolled agents is right around 66 years of age. So any young people coming into the profession, we are really looking to pass the baton and our businesses on to that next generation. So it's really a splendid time to come forward, learn about tax, get that credential, and actually have a very successful and lucrative career. People ask me at cocktail parties, what do you charge? Just remember, when you call the IRS, you may not have the best results. I know the script. I'll have a much better outcome than you will. And that's kind of the way it works. Amber, we don't mean to neglect you. Give us your background and a little bit about how you became an EA.
That's okay. Neglect me, because this is all, like builds anxiety for me. So just bear with me.
Have fun.
So my journey to the enrolled agent is more like a pinball machine, playing a pinball machine. I started doing bookkeeping, tax for my grandma's law firm about at the age of 14. I thought that, I'm going to just become an accountant and I don't have to deal with people because I hated people. I was wrong. You deal with people on a daily basis in front to front. So I went and got my bachelor's degree between being in the military. So I did the Army for about 9 years and pursued my undergrad degree throughout that time. And so going into industry, one of the things that they emphasized was being a CPA. I knew that it just didn't feel right for me. That was not the journey for me, but I was forced, to consider it. So at the point that the 150-hour credit requirement came, tax was introduced to me by almost like an intentional mistake. I decided that I was going to not just go for basket weaving to get my 150 hours. I was going to go pursue a master's degree. And I decided to do master's in taxation. And it was there that it all clicked for me. So one of the things that I knew, aside from doing audits, was that I wanted to return back to entrepreneurial services. That's what they called it then. It was mainly just working with small businesses, mid-sized businesses. And I had a real strong interest in process improvement. But the tax, believe it or not, just dealing with or reading into all the laws and, like it just made sense. I don't know how to say it any differently, but it made sense. Unfortunately, and the sad part for me is that even through that program, no one talked about the EA. It was still go and pursue your CPA. So I left that firm after I got my degree. They didn't pay for it. And then I started to do some consulting work on the side. I started my own little small practice, AMS Consulting Group at the time. And I just focused on working with small businesses. At the time that I was looking for someone to assist me with the accounting and tax portion, I ran into a young fella who was an EA. And I was like, oh, what is this? He got, he put me down and I started doing my research and I was like, okay, hold that thought. Went and took my exam. I passed it in, I think I took 1 a month or something like that. And, I was able to pass on the first round. Now I do want to, let me back up because I did utilize a program and it was more so for the questions. One thing I do, I want to acknowledge that the way that the questions are written is not necessarily intuitive to how you think, right? So just like with a software program, if you've ever worked with TurboTax, they ask a question in a certain type of way. And unless you get yourself familiar with that language, it's going to be hard to pass. So I did go through that exercise. I spent about 40 hours doing the testing. And then I was like, all right, I'm confident enough to go and take the exam. I do believe the fact that I have already gone through a master's program is why I was able to, pass it quicker than say the average person. So I took that in 2018 and 2019 is when I got licensed. So I'm fairly new with the EA exam, but I've been in the business for some time. I am gray, but I'm still young. And I'm not going to tell you what that age is, but I got some years ahead of me and behind me. So yeah, that's my spiel there.
Amber, would you comment on when you take the test, the fact you have immediate feedback that you passed or not?
Oh, yes. And believe it or not, like, even though I was confident, I was still scared. I sat at the little seat with the lady and all I just kept saying is like, it better be a pass. Yep, it better be a pass. And when she just handed me the thing and I was like, can I give you a hug?
Totally relate to that. I totally relate. Totally can relate to that. You're like looking like, does it say pass? Like after the first one, you know what the letter looks like when you pass. You're like, that's what I'm expecting to see print.
Right. I'm like, go ahead and press it. I need that press, so I can go on my way. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that part that you didn't have to wait.
We think that feedback is so wonderful. When Catherine and I took it, the test was administered 1 or 2 days a year because it was a written test, 4 parts. We got our result. We took the test in September. We got the results in April. And so you didn't know anything. And every now and then, one of the tax groups would actually print publish the questions and answers. and you'd look at that and say, oh God, I didn't do as well as I thought. What they would do though, the IRS would throw out most of the questions that everybody missed. And so when everything was said and done, you had a much higher score than you thought you did. But the fact that you have immediate feedback is so nice. What I tell people as they're studying for the EA, if they're coming to me with tax experience, I tell them, if you're doing taxes, take part 1 right now. You'll probably pass it. Take it cold. If you do pass it, wonderful. If you don't pass it, you know how to study because you've seen the test environment. And isn't it nice? If you don't pass, they tell you your weak areas. My goodness, that that is about as good as it gets. And because of COVID, you used to have 2 years from the time you passed your first part till you passed all 3. Now it's 3 years. So they have had that intermediary in there because a lot of the Prometric test facilities were shut down for a long time because of the pandemic. So Nayo, your comment on the immediate feedback of the testing?
Yes. So I took it the very first time I took it on paper. So I remember taking it and having to wait, but I already knew after I took the test, I was like, yeah, I didn't pass this. So when the letter came, I was not surprised.
Yeah.
Very good. And each of you, what program did you use when you studied for the test? If you used somebody's study package?
I used GLIME. And one of the reasons I use GLIME is because they over prepare you. I am very type A, and so I like to walk into a room with confidence. So I felt very confident using GLIME because they teach you things that didn't even show up on the test, but it makes you kind of understand the principles behind things. And then with the double negative questions, right? they trick you up with these, is it not the right way? It's like, what? I gotta read this 5 times. So they kind of work with you to figure out how to read the question and break it up into sections so you understand what's really being asked of you.
Amber,
Yeah.
what
Honestly,
package?
I don't remember which one I used. I don't remember, but I do. Surgeon is the one that I recommend to upcoming EAs. But I don't remember which one it was because it was so quick for me. I'm just like, I need to get through these tests. I mean, these questions. I need to understand what you're actually asking me,
Very good.
So, I'm so sorry.
I would like to take a moment to talk about the NAEA Education Foundation. Our mission is to actually encourage tax professionals to become enrolled agents. And to that end, we offer scholarships, both in the kind of package you may wish to use. We offer scholarships from 3 providers, GLIME, Surgent, and Eva Brosenberg. Her package is called Tax Mama. And we've heard great things about all of them. And the other thing we do is on a reimbursement basis, we are reimbursing the test fees, currently $203 per test.
Where were
and so
Right, where was this program when I was tested?
we thought it was a good idea, so we started reimbursing it because we don't want that monetary issue to be stopping anyone.
Yeah.
Little more background. I actually worked for Prometric for 3 years as a contractor. So those questions you're saying really suck. I don't think I wrote any of those, but I wrote questions for part 3, which I happen to do a lot of representation. I enjoy that part of it. And I actually attended some seminars where IRS people were there and Prometric people were there. And I would raise my hand and say, let me tell you the question I hate. What is the penalty for not signing a tax return? Because although that's a great test question, it's never a real question in our world. Why would you not sign a tax return if you prepared it? You wouldn't give it to the client if it was that flaky. But oh no, you've got to know that that's $50, or I think it's now $55 if you don't sign the return. Well, about 4 years ago, I sent some family friends their return, printed it out on paper to say, here's my first draft, look at it. They signed it and sent it in. I'm still waiting for the IRS to say, you didn't sign that return. I think I'm safe, right? Statute of limitations and all.
Were you paid? Did you get paid? Because if
No,
you
no,
weren't-
no.
Oh, see, well, then you're fine. You weren't a paid preparer. You only got to sign if you got paid.
And then they started doing TurboTax, and TurboTax will give us a job for life, right?
Yes.
It's sad. People are using this very interesting tool. They use it one time a year. They never get good at it. And because they never get a letter, they think, oh, I must be doing it right.
Mhm.
Interesting
Until the
case.
letter comes.
Yeah. Interesting
I do a
case
lot
at
of-
tax court.
I do a lot of work with Intuit. So it's kind of, I've been to their headquarters where the TurboTax servers are. I can tell you the security there is tight. So you cannot walk around the building without having an escort. And I'm on a campaign on Twitter to try to get in a TurboTax commercial. So,
I've seen.
okay.
Yeah.
so
Yeah, my opinion on TurboTax is it's probably the best known product.
yeah, it is.
Mhm.
And my wife and I, we actually lecture once a year virtually to the interns at the CDC who are doing their own tax return for the first time. And they actually have taxable scholarships. You're probably aware that TurboTax, as you download it, will not allow you to put in taxable scholarships. You actually have to buy the business premium for 150
Mhm.
bucks to have that entry. And so I often comment to these people, TurboTax is what everybody's going to try to use. You can't do your return properly and put in a taxable scholarship. You're probably going to have to either spend more money, go to a professional preparer. And the other thing we say, oh, by the way, this is probably the first tax return you've ever done. Your dad's always done it. You're now out of grad school. You probably want to go see a professional if you've worked in 2 or more states, if you had any other income, like you were doing Uber or Lyft or DoorDash or something, because you really don't want to try to do that yourself. And so we then get all the calls. We say, we're not taking any new clients, but we have this list of nice EAs in Atlanta, and they're happy to help you. And so that's what we've been doing. The other thing we'd like to emphasize, with the pandemic, you don't need a brick and mortar building anymore. Very, very few people have brick and mortar. So you can start your own tax practice, work out of the safety of your home, just have a good internet link. And from there, everything is fine. I've been doing that now for 3 years. It's much nicer. There's no morning commute. Atlanta traffic is renowned for being bad. And so we're actually more productive.
I actually run a virtual summit called the Taking Your Firm Virtual Summit that teaches accounting and tax professionals how to confidently and securely take their firms to the cloud. And it was born through the pandemic because I was hearing those horrible stories of tax professionals trying to go into the office, risking their health to do this job. And I'm like, you don't have to. We have all the technology tools in the world to make it easy for you to just, as long as you have a wireless internet connection and you got a place to work, you can get started. You don't have to risk your life going to meet with someone face to face.
I think the pandemic caused a lot of changes in all of our practices, just as you're saying, because, my physical office has been in New York State. And of course, New York State had some very restrictive lockdown. And so we all sort of scattered, and I was able to work from my home without missing a beat because I had already had the technology in place to work from home. Amber, did you have a similar result to that? Do you do a lot of remote work? How does your practice actually work?
So, so the other part that I didn't say in my intro is that I run a tax department for a small minority owned CPA firm. I had, from the time that I got there, been trying to get them to be virtual because I just don't live that life. Right? My life needs to be virtual because I travel a whole lot. When I'm not in tax season, I am on a ship or a plane and I am somewhere exotic. Okay. So when the pandemic happened, I was happy and I was sad at the same time, because, you know, we had to figure out how to become virtual fairly quickly and safely. You know, that's one of the things is the security, not just having a link, you know, to this is how we're doing business now, but, you know, one of the requirements as an EA and to be in practice is that you have to have a whole plan in place on how you're keeping people's information secure. So that was the biggest challenge, was getting that all ready, you know, so that our clients can have it and that we can actually execute on it.
Are you having a difficult time with your clients that are not technology oriented or technology challenged?
You're about to start having me sing. Yeah, so we have a hybrid of people who are, you know, we like to call them our legacy people, who are just down for the paper and don't want to remove themselves from the life of paper. So we've had to put some extra little tax on, you know, that service, because now someone has to be in office, have to scan in all their information, even though they downloaded the information from somewhere electronic.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so I mean, we're working with them, and hopefully in the next couple of years they will be fully on board. But I mean, I think that's par for the course, right?
Yeah,
I see. No, there's a question from Mario. It's in the chat. It's not in the question box. And he's looking for somebody to help him become an EA. How should I process to take the EA exam? And you know, hopefully Amber and Nayo can give him a little bit more information, since they're have taken the exam much more recently than us. But I always tell people to take parts 1 and 3 first and save 2 for last, because for most enrolled agents who don't have business backgrounds, part 2 is the toughest. For me, it was the easiest, but that was the background that I came from. Could Amber and Nayo speak to that, please?
So
go ahead. I'm
go ahead,
sorry.
Amber.
I was going to say, can we just identify what parts 1, 2, and 3 actually are before?
Parts 1 are individual taxes, part 2 business, and part 3 is all about the ethics.
Right. So yeah, so for me, you know, so for a person who doesn't have any background or knowledge, what I've been telling my staff who are interested in becoming an EA, I usually recommend that they do part 3 first, because I need you to understand the foundations of what it is that we're doing and why we are doing it. And then while they're doing that, then I usually allow them to start working on individual tax returns, mainly their own. And then they have that foundation, take part 1, you know, start studying for part 1, and then business is what I would recommend as last. But I really think that for anyone like Mario, who stated that he has a master's degree, you have some point of reference with some of the questions. You may not need the same level of time in, you know, in the level of like the study materials. You very well may be able to get by doing the practice exams and you know, and the test bank, and start from there. I can't really say which ones I think that you should do first, but I think if you said you're a certified tax preparer, where is your strong area? Focus on that first, and then spend the extra time on the area that you know nothing about, or that you know that you're weaker in.
So I actually recommend people start with the more difficult one, which is usually the business one. And that's because the time runs out on you, right? Bill, I didn't know that they changed it from 2 years to 3 years, so that's awesome. But just imagine knocking out the hardest exam first, and then having 2 years to take the easier exams. Plus, it kind of alleviates some stress when you know you've tackled the beast, so to say. It's like you've eaten your elephant one bite at a time, hitting part 2, and really, because a lot of tax professionals, I know they understand the individual taxes, they don't really understand the business. So you will need to study. Even if you've been doing business tax returns for 20, 30 years, I still recommend that you study for part 2, just because there are some things that show up on the exam that don't necessarily show up in the day-to-day business tax preparation services. So, I'm a big fan of setting a date. I want to pass the exam by a particular date, and then breaking it down into smaller subsections of how much time can I allot to studying, so that you're not trying to say, I want to pass the test in 3 months when you can only free up 2 hours a week. That's unrealistic. So if you say I want to pass in a year, how much? I got 5 hours a week to study, an hour every single day, Monday through Friday.
Yeah,
That
don't
is
sleep
doable.
the exam.
Yeah. And so then that way, schedule your tests. You I'm going to take the test by this date. And then that helps you actually do the work. I'm a person, everything goes on my calendar. So I had my study time on the calendar. It was an appointment I set with myself, and I'm not going to break a date with myself, because I'm like one of the most important people on this planet. So why would I disrespect myself by not showing up to the appointment? Right? I got to pay a fee, a no-show fee, when I don't show up for myself.
Just as an added comment here, if you become an associate member of NAEA, I believe you get part 1 of the Surgeon study course for free as part of the associate membership. But hopefully Erin can confirm that towards the end of our time here, but which is a great member benefit.
Yeah, I don't think that you can go wrong either way that you decide to do it. I'm an instant gratifier. I need to know
you need
that
to check the box off.
Yes.
Done.
Yes.
Yeah. So Erin said that is correct. And as a member, you also get discounts on part 2 and part 3. So again, another added member benefit. Or you can apply for a scholarship through the NAEA Education Foundation. And get a scholarship that way. That is also a great benefit.
One of the things we discovered with scholarships, when we award 50 scholarships, people are immediately very happy. The uptake rate is very, very low. People get a scholarship, they do not invoke it and start studying. And so what we're trying to do this time around, when someone wins a scholarship or is awarded a scholarship, we are going to notify the state affiliate so they can contact that person and give them some encouragement and some direction. It's nice to have someone local that is in that business, knows the ropes, and can counsel them and also encourage them, which at that point, that's what you need, is encouragement till you get started on that journey. So
yeah, unfortunately, osmosis doesn't work.
No.
There is also a group on Facebook, the IRS exam study group. That group was instrumental in me finding kind of like an accountability buddy. Like there were tips in there. When people were having issues at the Prometric site, I kind of knew about it in advance. So that's another helpful group to kind of push you along, find some support along your journey.
Yes. So Prometrics is where you would go to book your exam. I think it's still Prometrics, right?
Yeah. Amber, do you remember how you do that? Have you done that more recently?
I'm trying to grab the link for you.
Yeah, so I just so there's something with the Prometrics right now. I don't think that they're fully back to capacity from COVID. I have a aspiring on EA in North Carolina right now, and it was hard. She's in Charlotte. It was hard finding a test availability within Charlotte. So you may have to look a few miles, like 50 miles out for the nearest testing center.
Yeah, I was teaching the SEE Part 3 in 2019. It turns out I'm an EA. I could take the test. Whether I passed it or not, I was still an EA. So I did take the test just to see, was I teaching what the test was about? And that was a gratifying experience because, number one, you need a PTIN to sign up with Prometric and a
Yes.
credit card.
Yep.
And
Those
and then
specifics you were asking. So sorry.
Yeah. And then you select a test center with an appropriate set of dates that you can handle, and also the geography. People that are not in Atlanta may have a more challenging time than if they're in Atlanta because there are more options there. And if you're in a small rural town, you may have to go to a big city. Prometric right now has not gone to the next step of doing remote testing, but it's something they're kicking around internally. Just for reference, the USTCP tax court exam, US tax court practitioners, they did that virtually last year.
You just said a bad word. I'm studying for that right now.
It turns out I work with a number of tax court lawyers, and their comment is, oh my God, I'm happy I don't have to test because I wouldn't be a tax court lawyer. They spend their $50 and they're allowed to be before the tax court. That's their admission. So, and it is a very challenging test. I'm proud to say I've taken it 3 different times and I haven't passed all 4 parts with over a 70 yet. But I'm aspirational.
Oh, that gives me much hope. I'm sorry.
Well, if you're working with Cheryl Fervato, you can pass it the first time through. Her program, I hear, is absolutely phenomenal for the USTCP.
Yeah, and her statistics, of if 20 people passed the test, 16 were her graduates. It's that kind of thing. But if you've ever talked to somebody, they really, really work at it. They go to DC a week early, they rent a condo, and they hit, 5 people to a condo. They hit each other with tax questions 5 days a week, morning to night. So it's really a focus.
So EAs or aspiring EAs, there's just another level that you could reach if you want to. So.
Well, it turns out off the record, I do a tremendous amount of tax court work. You don't have to be a USTCP unless you're appearing in court in front of the judge. 90+% of the programs or the issues are settled at docketed appeals. And if they're not settled there, they are settled in front of chief counsel. And so I'm delighted if a case I have is calendared that says it's going to be heard in a week. I have a lot more leverage with tax chief counsel to settle because the judge doesn't want to argue about mileage logs or receipts for meals. He wants that to be done by chief counsel. So have a lot of fun there.
And just so you know, that's the next level. You don't have to jump there. So start with the EA and then talk about that in 5 years.
Yeah. You got to be an EA to play in that sandbox.
Yes.
Yes. Any other questions? No.
That was good though. It's good to hear that you're taking that test, Amber. So good luck studying because I know how difficult it is. I have definitely had some friends take the test and not pass, but they were trying to study on their own accord. So good luck.
Thank you.
I know it's difficult.
This one is challenging for me because again, I'm so serious when I say I'm an instant gratification person, and this is a long journey.
One of the other things for people that are casting about, they may want to Google the Society of Enrolled Agents in their state and contact the education chair or the president and just see what their thoughts are, because we're all here to help people become EAs, and you'll find that that's a very good support group. I get a couple of those calls a month, and am always happy to help someone, give them my thoughts, and do whatever we can to encourage them.
So is it not safe to say that everyone on registered is an NAEA member?
Nope, you don't have to be a member to attend the career panel.
Okay, so I would say that I highly recommend being an NAEA member. And you know, it has changed my outlook on the EA as a profession. And I'd say that with all kinds of passion inside of me. The level of education you get, the people that you meet, and just to see how many different ways the EA can take you as far as a career is, you know, it's like I would never have even imagined. Again, my whole background is everyone's been pushing the CPA on me. And I'm like, nope, just don't feel right. And then I joined NAEA. I have been part of NATP, not to say anything bad about them, or any other, you know, tax specialized organization or accounting organization. I've just not met the same level of support and people than I have with being a member of NAEA. So just thought I'd put that plug out there.
When you become a member of NAEA, first of all, what you put into your membership is what you're going to get out of your membership. And hearing Amber talk, you actually become a member of the family, and we are like family. And if Amber had a question about New York or Vermont or New Hampshire or Maine or Massachusetts, she could pick up the phone and call me and say, this is Amber, we were on a webinar together and I have this question about this, can you help me out? And I've never had another member not help me out. Because we are a family, and family help each other.
And when I get those calls, people start out by saying, can I pay you? And my answer is no. You know, that's not how it works. I'm paying forward so that you can do the same thing when it's your turn. Happy to help anyone I can.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's good to join before you become an EA while you're in the process of thinking about it, because I think it will definitely help you, especially if you get involved, help you make the decision if this is the right way for you. And how deep you want to go in being an EA. Some people just want to do individual tax preparation. And then there's others who aspire to be, you know, tax resolution specialists.
The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, they are. But I don't think that you fully know how to go about those things until you're in an environment that supports and advocates for it.
Yes, true. So true. And NAEA now has a career center. So as you're going through the process, if you're looking to work with other enrolled agents, we kind of have a built-in network of people that may be looking for new hires so that you can get some on-the-job experience, like Bill recommended from the get-go, right? Not having to go it alone and feel like, I got to start this business immediately. You don't. You can learn alongside someone else and then hang up your shingle once you feel confident and ready to do so.
Yeah, and I'm a nerd, so I like the newsletters. I'm like, oh, this is like my soap opera coming through.
Oh, and the journals. I love the journals.
Yeah, the journals are great. The forum, people get to ask questions. I learned a whole lot on the forums, things that I never seen before. And I do, you know, peruse that from time to time. And these are all great resources for anybody who's looking to become an EA. It's not just the test. The test only gets you the credentials. The test does not, or the credentials does not teach you fully how to be effective and successful in this line of work.
I'm curious, have either one of you gone through the NTPI program?
I did.
Yes, pass
Oh,
it.
excellent.
Hello.
So you're both fellows.
Yes.
That was an excellent course to start learning about representation and what you needed to do for representation. And it is an NAEA proprietary program, yeah.
So you all remember Mark Dombrowski. He actually puts his cards out so you can call him. He's the whiz with collections and offers and so on. And he has a rather crisp way of speaking, does he not?
He does. I love him and Alan Pennick.
Yep.
I will say that the NATP, I mean, the NTPI, you know what I'm trying to say.
NTPI.
There you go. Going through that program definitely changed some of the career, or what I would like to say, the credential biases that I have dealt with working with CPAs who think that they know tax, especially when we got, we ran into a situation where there were a lot of resolution work that needed to get turned over pretty quickly, but no one knew where to start. And I came and was like, oh, I got this. And they're like, when can I pay for your next membership?
And for those
When's your next conference?
And for those of you who don't really understand the difference between tax prep and resolution work, what happens is tax preparation services are, you know, coming to you annually. I got to get this tax return done and see what my refund is. Resolution and collection work is when our clients, or, you know, our potential clients get one of those love letters from the IRS that says, you owe us money, or you are up for audit. And they need someone that is confident and competent to speak on their behalf, because if you've ever been in a situation where you were nervous, you tend to start talking and you tell on yourself. So essentially we act as their representation before the IRS agent, whether it's a paper audit or in person. But basically we take over the case for the clients so they can just hand us documents and we can, as Bill says, tell the story that works in their favor.
Does everybody remember the movie that won all the awards this year? Everywhere, Everything, All at Once, which
I haven't seen it yet, but it's all about
it's about an IRS audit of a Chinese lady who has this pile of receipts on the desk. And Jamie Lee Curtis is saying that is not going to cut it.
I love that movie.
I'll have to watch that movie. I haven't seen it yet.
I've seen previews. It's on my list to watch. I'm like trying to just take a day and chill and just watch a bunch of TV and not think about a tax return right now.
Let's be real clear. That's not what an audit is really like.
No.
That is a fabrication of reality, but it won a lot of awards because it was cute.
It should. It was a good movie. Yeah.
And it's not a good idea for the client to smack the auditor in the mouth. That is one of the scenes.
Yeah, no, that's not a good idea at all. We try. I try my best to keep my clients away from the auditor at all times.
I do not bring my clients anywhere near the IRS. I tell them specifically, you cannot come with me. You've got to stay home.
And that's a good strategy. And at the very worst, you can call them. And that way you don't have to have them on speaker. You can get whatever information you need. And everybody's fine with that. So I've actually had them fax me information to my phone and showed it to the auditor. That way we saved another visit. So technology works very well in that regard.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left, which is time for maybe one more question from the audience.
Good.
And then if nothing comes in, I'll wrap us up. But want to just give an opportunity again for anyone in the audience. We've got time for about one more question. If anyone has any in the chat, Q&A, wherever you want to put it. I can see both.
Now we did so well just raving and talking up the EA credential. Everybody's ready to go get signed up. They've joined NAEA. They're like, we're in this. And what they're going to do is tell us the dates that they're going to pass the exam by.
Love that. Yeah. In the chat, let us know when you're going to pass the exam. And then I'll just give the 4 of you all just last chance to say final comments, and then I'll wrap us up. Bill, you want to start?
Alrighty, well, certainly, if you watch this panel discussion, you see that it is kind of a interesting group of people, always very interested in helping people. That's almost one of the prerequisites to be an EA. You want to help people in their lives. And we often joke, we probably should have a degree in counseling because we certainly seem to do a lot of that. If you have any intention of becoming an EA, please visit the NAEA website and look at the Education Foundation portion of it. We urge you to apply for a scholarship, and that will get you on your way at a very painless level. It's then up to you to invest the time, and we'd love to have you as part of our fellowship. Look forward to it.
Amber asked a question and about having a security plan in place to protect your clients. And is that something that NAEA can provide guidance on? Ashley, I would certainly hook up with your local state affiliate. I know a lot of the affiliates in NAEA did webinars and programs on this last year. The IRS has a template. And so hook up with your local organization and you will have many people that would be willing to help you. And there's probably some on-demand webinars that you can watch as well.
Yeah, so when I say that NAEA has changed the game for me, I'm not getting paid for this, even though I'm like putting that out there, my membership next year. But I have really seen some level of education or resource that's from the start of your practice or career all the way to, you know, potentially exiting out of it. So, yeah, I mean, I think everything is there. And if it's not, there's someone that can definitely assist you with finding that and building upon what you already have established.
EAs are a diverse group of people. So you can't put an EA in a box and say they are just one thing and do one thing. And that is one of the reasons why I like this license, because it offers some freedom and flexibility for you to basically choose your own adventure. We do have some guidelines and principles that we, you know, must abide by, but along that journey, we meet some pretty nice people along the way, and we get to help them solve some type of financial tax problem. And that can be very rewarding.
Wanted to mention that Aaron put into the chat box, there is an on-demand webinar on creating your own data security plan. It happens to be a webinar I presented. It actually has Excel and Word templates, and anybody should be able to do a data security plan in about 2 hours for their office with everything I've given them. So just a little plug there. Another benefit of NAEA, they have this tremendous amount of on-demand webinars. You know, should you be wanting to do catch-up depreciation on a 3115, just go find the webinar on there, and you're in, you know, half an hour, you're an expert, and you can go sell that, just that part of it, probably for $500 to a client.
Sometimes more.
Yes.
Well, I put a number of links in the chat for all kinds of things, the Education Foundation, our membership page. So if you're interested in joining as a free student academic or interested in joining as an associate member to get those Surgent discounts. And then we also have a C-Passer membership. So you start as an associate, you study, you pass the test, then you get $100 off your regular membership as a C-Passer for a year, and then you're just on the regular member path. I also put in the links, like Bill said, we have 2 webinars that are free for members on the WISP program. And there's another number of links on there as well. But for anyone who's watching this on demand, www.naea.org is your home base for all things NAEA. So I want to thank our panelists and our moderators today and all of you for attending. And then just as a reminder, we do record these. So if you know someone who would benefit from watching this webinar, Amber's over there like, no, don't watch it. We put them up on YouTube. We have all of our past ones up there. We do these every quarter. So I encourage you to watch any of the ones from last year if you have any other questions, or share with someone you know who is thinking about going on this EA journey. Again, thank you all for attending, and we will see you at the next one, and have a good rest of your tax season. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.